Welcome to the RSP NFL Lens. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. How good is DeAndre Swift going to be in 2021? Well, there are a lot of factors involved when you start looking at the offense and what he did last year and what he's going to need to work on. This is a simple wide route here to the right flat. Makes the catch. Defender unblocked downhill here in the flat. Wraps up Swift for a short gain. Looks like, it's just more one of those plays that maybe it shouldn't have been thrown. The defender, had Swift in his sights right away, all those things. Well, what could have Swift done? What could Swift have done to gain more yardage here? Because he's one-on-one with a linebacker. You want a one-on-one with a linebacker. He should win this. Well, one of the things that he does is you can see he addresses the ball with his hands facing outward until he thinks, well, let me turn downhill and now let the ball into me and just cradle it close to my body. So he doesn't fully attack the ball. That's one of the problems here with this play. He allows the ball into his frame. That costs him about a step. And every step counts when you're in a one-on-one with a linebacker here. Because if he's a step ahead here, that linebacker may not get the chance to be able to wrap him as high up on the knee. Might have only been able to wrap the foot. Swift might have been able to break a tackle here. So you want to maximize your space, and the way you do that is catch the ball early. Address the ball at its earliest point, rather than, kind of fading away and letting that ball get into your frame and giving the defender one more step to wrap you. That's something he's going to have to work on. Now here's a good route about Swift's game as a receiver is that he does use his fingertips well to catch the football. You're going to see this here on the swing out to the flat. Does a good job of catching the ball with his fingertips. When you can catch the top of the ball like that and extend low and outward, that's a nice job of being able to secure the football. All right, one of the things with DeAndre Swift that's a borderline liability is his pass protection. You're going to see here with number 45 coming through the middle on this blitz. Swift gets square. He reads it all the way, but he doesn't finish the job. And one of the reasons why is he knows there's two defenders blitzing coming through here, and he doesn't want to cut the way he should. Which is if he's going to cut block, it's going from left to right across the front of number 45 so that he can get his left side and left shoulder across the right knee of the defender or across the right legs and cut under so his whole body is there. Instead, he tries to take the shortcut and try and cut under that defender's right leg. And because of that and the way that he's bent and the way that he has to angle himself to do that, he's telegraphing the block. 45 is able to avoid it all the way. And Swift ends up cutting the other blocker by accident and then getting himself tangled up in his lineman's legs, which could create an injury there. And the defender, of course, number 45, is able to get into the quarterback's legs, even though the quarterback's able to complete the pass. What Swift should have done, really, is stand up block number 45. Should have squared, punched, and been the aggressor here rather than taking contact or telegraphing this with a, not good technique, not a good approach with this block. This is why Jamal Williams is in town, folks. Because Jamal Williams can pass protect. He can pick these things up. But Swift is still going to have to do this. And so he's going to have to get a lot better in pass protection in situations like this, or else he may see fewer reps as a receiver if he remains a liability as a blocker. One of the things I like about Swift's game as a receiver is that he does extend well for the ball and shows soft hands to be able to extend and catch the ball when he needs to. So he's a guy that can take some contact when he's at the catch point. He has a pretty wide catch radius for his size. Good concentration. That's something to build on. So one of the things with DeAndre Swift that he's going to have to work on is being able to use his hands and be the attacker. He slides across and picks up this linebacker blitz. Great job here on that end. But he loads up with the forearm, dips one shoulder in, and just catches the contact. Now the defender's on the ground, true. So you could say, oh, well, he made the block. But he also just caught the contact and gets pushed backwards into the pocket. And while number 4 here does a decent job of being able to get the ball out and complete the pass, enough of these plays where your body is always getting in the way with the throwing lane, and you can impede the progress of the play. So from a perspective here, Swift needs to be the attacker, use his hands a little bit better so that he can punch and get into the chest rather than just lean in with the forearm and load up. You're going to see it from this angle here. Once again, he just kind of leans in, uses the forearm, but the defender has the momentum coming downhill, and Swift gets knocked back into the pocket. Now, Swift isn't targeted on this play, but watch him work this little route to the inside, this little circle route or angle route to the inside. What you see here is a player who tips off the route. Watch him. He's already kind of has his eyes downfield, and he's already looking inside before his break. He's tipping off that break to the linebacker right there before he even makes the move. So he has to do a better job of understanding how to set up his breaks so he doesn't tip them off. Let's see if we can see from a different angle here. Right here at the top of his break. See how he turns inside? He isn't even at the top of his stem. Now there's a little move back to the outside, but he's looking inside the entire way. If this were a route that was targeted, it's most likely that the defender, knowing this is where this is going to go, has enough speed, is close enough to be able to cut off this route. Here's another example of Swift tipping off his route here. You're going to see him work through the inside of the pocket here. He's got the linebacker here. Watch him looking inside. He's already looking to see where he can settle in here, and he's tipping off that he's heading inside. Then he throws the move at the top of his stem with that stutter. And while the defender does get baited a little bit to the outside with that stutter move, some of the better defenders in the middle of the field are going to see that look inside and know that's where he's going. Nice catch by Quintez Cephas, too. But so you're going to see it from this angle with Swift. See how he's looking inside already? If the defender is actually paying attention to that, he should not have taken the bait on that play. So better linebackers in coverage are not going to get baited by that because Swift is already tipping off where he's going. Looks inside, move, back to the inside. Any wise defender is going to see that abundance of tape where he does that and cut off these types of plays. Here's a perfect example of what can happen when you tip off your route. Swift working to the outside. Adrian Amos working to the flat here. Swift turns inside, turns his head to the inside here before he makes his move. Amos breaks down, plants his feet, and is able to work back to the inside and begin that work back inside before Swift makes that break right here. And that gives him that step to be able to, deliver the hit, and Swift ends up dropping the ball. Now, this is a real fine point about receiving, but if we want to talk about DeAndre Swift approaching numbers like Alvin Kamara or Austin Eckler, two players that people have tried to link, what he's going to become in this role with the Lions, well, he's going to have to do a better job of transitioning downhill because he catches this ball, turns to the outside, doesn't work completely downhill. Now, defender's in his face, Levante David, and he's trying to work outside here, and he gets wrapped up. But here's the thing. He should understand that when two defenders are showing up as a possibility of a cross blitz and they're going to drop back, they're going to each be turning their chests to the outside of where they're dropping. So you're going to see White and David both drop back. See how their backs are to the middle of the field? Swift should understand that when these guys are dropping with their backs to the middle of the field, that he should turn into the middle of the field when he catches this ball. So these defenders are still angled outward, and he should try and split them. And instead, he tries to go outside. Now, you say, well, there's blockers out here. Sure, but it's not as efficient. If he catches this ball and he's not angled this way to go outside, he could catch this ball, turn inside, and have a quicker angle to to get downhill and get more yardage. He may still get wrapped by 45, maybe even by 54, but he's heading downhill and getting more yards, and he needs to maximize yardage. And so the way to do that is catch this ball, turn inside. Instead, he's basically playing into the angle that the defender already has. Ideally, this is where Swift works at his best. You're going to see a situation where you're going to have Amendola and Marvin Jones clear out the defenders in this right flat, and they're going to work Swift inside out to that opposite flat, have a little dump down on the screen, and just look at all the space that he has here. This gives him enough of a runway to get up to speed. This is where he can use a little bit of his movement to make the defender miss in the flat and turn this into another 10 to 12 yards on the play after making that defender miss. But again, how many of these plays are there going to be? How many of these plays are there going to be with Swift catching the ball and having essentially 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 yards of space to work through? Not a lot. He's going to have to do more than just this to elevate his game from a production standpoint. Ideally, this is how I'd like to see any team use Swift, or any team use its running back. Ideally, this is one of the better ways that Swift is used during the season in 2020. You're going to see him as part of a quad set, or 4 receivers to one side. And you have him outside, you get him matched one-on-one with a linebacker, and you have him run a route that he's going to be able to shake the linebacker, because he works inside of Quintez Cephas, forces the linebacker to work through traffic here, and then dip back to the outside. The linebacker's not going to be able to keep up with that. Now he has a flat with this little clear out with Cephas. He's able to catch the ball, extend, and he has all this space. And because he can get downhill with a runway, now he has the advantage to just drop the pads at the 5, work through the hit, score on the play. This is really what you want to see as often as possible, is to be able to get into these types of spread type of setups where you have 3 receivers working, force a linebacker one-on-one to work through traffic, use a little misdirection, and get open space to head downhill and be the bully against a cornerback. Here's another nice play. You're going to have Swift singled out to the right side, but you have 2 tight ends who are working up the seam, so that clears out this seam. And with the defender playing this far off and these defenders working inside, he's going to have a lot of space inside with a delayed release inside after those linebackers have to get depth for these tight ends working into the flat. And that gives him a chance to make the catch. He does a great job with the transition here, making the spin, setting that up, and gets himself another 7 or 8 yards on the play. Let's look at it one more time. Here's the clear out by the 2 tight ends. Forces the linebackers to get the depth, the defensive backs to get the depth, delayed release behind that with the clear out, catch the ball 2 steps inside, plant, spin. Nice game.